Welcome back from that break, and you're still tuned in live to New Day here on TV3, and it's time for the Chamber. This morning we're looking at the structure and jurisdiction of the various courts here in Ghana. You may have heard a lot of the names of the courts, but you don't know which one has jurisdiction for what purpose. So this morning we're going to be talking in depth about that. And joining me for that discussion, I have His Lordship Justice Eric Cheba. He is from the High Court and Commercial Division here in Accra, and also His Honor Judge Abuaji Tando. He is here in Accra as well. Good morning, Your Lordships.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Right, so on the Chamber this morning, we want to look at the structure of the courts here in Ghana. When we talk about the structure of the courts in Ghana, can you just give us a brief background or take us through what the structure of the courts is?
Okay. Thank you. The structure of the courts is divided into two. We have the superior courts of judicature, and then we have the lower courts.
Okay.
With the superior courts of judicature, then we are talking about the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and then the High Court. These three makes the superior courts of judicature. And then with the lower courts, we have the circuit court, we have the district court, we have the juvenile court, and then we have the judicial committees of the National House of Chiefs, the Regional House of Chiefs, and then the Traditional Council.
Right. Justice Tando, what's the difference between these two courts?
Well, basically, in talking about the structure of the court, as my Lord just said, it's just like we have in TV3 here. We have the management, we have administration, we have finance, and then we have the security. So everybody has a duty to perform, and with a certain level of responsibilities and authorities that you have. So that's how they are structured. We have the superior court, as we have the high court, meaning that they have a certain jurisdiction, a certain authority to exercise in their work. Exactly, and same goes to the lower court, where we have the district court and circuit court, as my Lord said, all structured in a way that everybody will perform his duties, and it ends somewhere and continue from the other end.
Right. Now you mentioned jurisdiction. We hear that word thrown about a lot. Jurisdiction of the courts, this court doesn't have jurisdiction, and so on and so forth. What does jurisdiction mean?
Jurisdiction, basically, we have two types of jurisdiction, or several others that we can talk about. But we have the geographical jurisdiction. For example, let's take the district court. A district court in Accra will not go and adjudicate over a matter in, say, Cape Coast. So
basically, we mean maybe like the power or the authority of the court.
Authority, the limitations, the area of jurisdiction, the area of the limitation of your powers.
Okay.
And then you have also the things that you can do. Also, for example, a district court will have to sentence somebody for not more than two years, or a fine of not more than 500 penalty units.
Okay, so if it's a sentence or a crime that requires more than the 2 years, then that court wouldn't have the power to hear that case.
You have to look at, say, the circuit court or the high court.
I see. You wanted to add something to it?
Yes, I just want to add a few things. As my brother said, jurisdiction can mean various things. One is subject matter jurisdiction. Thus, the court have the power, the authority to preside over the matter or the case brought before it. That is subject matter jurisdiction.
Okay. Who determines that?
Is the Constitution, is the statute.
Okay. So before you even go to the court, you have to do your research and know which court you are taking this matter to.
Okay. And then the geographical jurisdiction. And then there is the third one we call personal jurisdiction. You may have subject matter jurisdiction, the court, I mean. You may have geographical jurisdiction. But does the court have jurisdiction over the persons who have been brought before the court? So, for instance, if you have a deal with the president, and you think you must sue the president of the nation whilst he is a sitting president, the court may have subject matter jurisdiction, it may have geographical jurisdiction, but does the court have personal jurisdiction to determine that civil suit against the president? So that is what we call personal jurisdiction.
I see. So it's up to lawyers to determine what cases to send to what court,
so
based on the statutes and the Constitution.
So it's for the lawyer whose client has approached him to look at the Constitution, to look at the statute, the Courts Act, and to determine which of the courts have jurisdiction over that
particular case. If a lawyer makes a mistake and sends a case to the wrong court, what happens?
Depending on the issue at stake. For instance, if it's a subject matter jurisdiction, then the moment the case comes before the judge, every judge must ask himself, do I have subject matter jurisdiction to determine and adjudicate this matter before me? So even the judge can raise a suo motu. But there are other jurisdictions, if objection is not raised by the opposing lawyer, then it's not fatal. For instance, probably concerning geographical jurisdiction, if the case or the suit has been filed in the wrong forum or the wrong court, it's for the opposing lawyer to raise the objection, for it to be determined, and then for the judge to draw the attention of the Chief Justice for transfer. If the opposing lawyer doesn't do that, then it moves to trial. Then your right to have the trial stopped has been waived.
Okay, does this mean that you cannot appeal if at the end of the case or during the trial it's brought to your notice that this is the wrong court? Is this something you can appeal based on the fact that it's at the wrong court? Or
if it's an objection regarding jurisdiction that you ought to raise timeously, like the geographical one,
so it's fatal. It can affect your case if you don't raise
if it's subject matter, then even on appeal, as I said, you can still raise it. You can still raise it because you cannot confer jurisdiction. This is subject matter. But if it's geographical jurisdiction, then you ought to raise it timeously for the court to determine that, and then for the necessary processes and procedures to be undertaken for the transfer to the appropriate court or forum.
To be done.
Yes.
Okay. Elijah, can you give us an example of some of the cases, or what kind of cases are handled by the different courts? Let's say the Supreme Court, for instance. What kind of cases do we take to the Supreme Court?
Well, the Supreme Court has what we call appellate jurisdiction as well as original jurisdiction in certain matters. For example, the election petition that we have, you can't take a relative petition, the presidential election, for example, to the district court or even to the high court. It means that it is only the Supreme Court that has original jurisdiction in matters like that. Apart from that, issues of interpretation of the Constitution is also a matter for the Supreme Court. They have original jurisdiction to deal with such matters. And then apart from that, matters from, for example, the Judicial Committee of the National House of Chiefs doesn't go through the High Court, the Court of Appeal,
straight to the
Supreme Court, if it is a matter affecting chieftaincy. So let's get this right.
Straight from the National House of Chiefs, it goes to the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
It doesn't go through the various stages.
But it should be a matter affecting chieftaincy, not other matters that will have to go through the normal process like anyone else.
Okay.
Determine, for example, who has to be the chief, who has the right.
Land issues or
at all.
Chieftaincy issues.
Exactly. Okay. So that has to be handled by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Now, when you come to the Court of Appeal, for example, the Court of Appeal has appellate jurisdiction. It means that a matter from the High Court, if you are not happy, you are dissatisfied with the decision of the High Court, then you go to the Court of Appeal where you have 3 judges to look into the matter and make a pronouncement. In the same vein, from the Circuit Court, civil cases from the Circuit Court go straight to the Court of Appeal. That doesn't go to the High Court.
Okay.
But criminal appeal goes to the High Court.
Okay.
That is how it is structured.
Okay. What are some of the issues or the challenges facing the courts at the moment?
In terms of
anything at all, the challenges, the main challenges that you're having in the courts in recent times.
Well, I would say number one, because most people do not understand the operations of the courts and the work of the judges. Sometimes decisions come and different meanings, different interpretations is given to that decision. And I must say, sometimes it even comes from lawyers who are supposed to know better. That is one challenge we face, and I think being here is one of those things to educate.
So the general public do not understand the workings or the goings on the court. Are they supposed to? And if they are, who's supposed to teach them? Who's supposed to educate us?
Well, what you don't know can affect you. We are all guided by the law. And
so we may all make it a point to know
just
the law.
To the basics and to appreciate some of the workings.
When you say the basics, what kind of things should we know as a regular member of the public? What are some of the basic things?
Well, I would say the Constitution is there. When you read fundamental human rights and all those, what you are entitled to, what you are supposed to do, your duties as a citizen, these are basics, I think, that every citizen, if you can read, ought to have a Constitution of Ghana.
So the
because that is the supreme law.
So we can start.
Yes.
Okay. Justice Tando, are you overwhelmed by cases in the courts?
Overwhelmed?
Yes.
Well, that is why, of course, every day there are matters that come before the court, and there are 1,001 things to deal with. However, we have introduced what we call the alternative dispute resolution mechanism. That's a way of reducing the court cases that we have.
Is it working? Do you find that a lot more people are subscribing to ADR?
See, there's one interesting thing about this ADR concept. ADR concept is not an American or a British concept. It's a Ghanaian concept. Well, our traditional authorities in the past, or even the families, will handle matters and then come up with a decision and all that. So it's something that has lived with us over the years. And now we are trying to encourage people to resort to it.
And are people happy to do that?
Oh, why not? Because it's a matter that can take you a day or two, a week to resolve. Whilst if it has gone through the litigation process, could have taken you 2 years, 3 years. Okay. And experience has shown that it is
working. And do you find that both parties are happy with the decisions?
Yes, because there is one time you save time, you spend less, and also a win-win kind of situation that you all have. The litigation, one has to win, one has to lose anyway.
Okay. My Lord, you wanted to add something?
Yes, with the ADR concept my brother is talking about, I think as judges we encourage that. It doesn't take work from our hands. It's part of it. In other jurisdictions like the United States, 95% of civil suits filed are settled.
Outside.
Yes, are settled. But in Ghana, it seems to be the reverse. So we are encouraging more people that look at the application for direction stage. If we look at the issues, if it's something we can settle, there is nothing wrong with that. And you still get, for the parties, for the lawyers, you get what you want.
Okay. Yes. Lord, please, can you just explain, sir, because I know this is a question that a lot of people would want an answer to. Why do cases take so long in the courts? Yes, cases that maybe could have taken maybe a few weeks, a month or so, you find it being in the courts for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. Why do cases take so long?
A number of factors, not only one. Number one is what we are talking about. Every party wants his case tried by the judge. It seems to be a cultural thing. And so the courts are congested. There is a limit to which the judge can do. So if you come to court and for a day, you have 50 or 40 dockets. All these cases, they are waiting to be tried. How much can you do for a day? So the congestions at the court is number one. And then number two, not all the courts are automated. Some of them you have to go through, the judge will have to write longhand. And it takes a very long time for such a case to come to conclusion. There may be other procedural and technical challenges probably that are also yes.
Okay, we hope that in the future things will be worked upon and then we can have our courts automated and have cases adjudicated upon timeously. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That's all the time we have, unfortunately. His Lordship Justice Eric Chebafo is from the High Court, the Commercial Division here in Accra, and also Justice Abuaje Tando. He is based here in Accra as well. Thank you so much for your time once again. This has been the Chamber, and we've been talking about the structure and jurisdiction of various courts here in Ghana.